If you know someone who is depressed, please resolve never to ask them why. Depression isn't a straightforward response to a bad situation. Depression just is like the weather. Try to understand the blackness, lethargy, hopelessness, and loneliness they're going through. Be there for them when they come through the other side. It's hard to be a friend to someone who's depressed, but it is one of the kindest, noblest, and best things you will ever do. So you can tell based on the quote I just said, this video is going to be strictly about the topic depression. Because let's face it, we've all been dying to get to the other side, to find happiness again after a time of weakness, vulnerability, and a downfall. Because I was there approximately 2 years ago around this time. And believe me, it was a truly, truly hard thing to get out of. I let a situation that traumatized me deeply near the end of 2016 get to me. It consumed my life. It was all I thought about. It was all I talked about, too. I developed a sense of compulsive thoughts, and I was depressed. I was weak, too. Weak on the inside mentally, weak physically. Just, just let alone being depressed is one thing. Just thinking, oh, I'm so sad today. I wish it would just end. It was completely different. I'd wake up, I feel so numb in my body. I lay down in bed most of the day, or I go to sleep early. I remember one night just saying to my parents, I'm going to go to sleep where everything is okay. I'm just going to go walk in bed in my dreams and feel okay. My dad was like to my mom, what's going on, Melissa? She knew, but she wasn't gonna tell him or nothing. It's just that whole time period in my life was so fragile. I was so lost. I was lost when I would hang out with my cousin Ashley and my friends. I would be elsewhere. It wasn't like I was engaged in, like, knowing where I was at the time. Well, I knew where I was, but I was either coming or going. I was lost. I had the look of lost in my blank stare. My eyes looked lost and dead, as people told me. Because that's how I felt. I didn't just look dead on the outside, I looked dead on the inside. It's not a nice feeling to be. I look back at pics of myself back in 2017 when I was struggling deeply with severe depression, going through my stuff. And I'm like, wow, that's me. I'm barely smiling like I always do in pics. My eyes look just completely out of it, because there was a time that I was just sleeping constantly. But then at the same time, when I had my mental breakdown, it was like, I don't know, it was like my eyes were like zombie-ish. It's hard to explain, but it was, I missed out on so much time that year. Like, months went by, and you know what I was doing? I would go out with Ashley and whoever, and after an hour of just walking around town or whatever, I'd want to go home, and I'd get picked up to get right home because I couldn't handle walking. It got to me deeply. Because when you're depressed, you can't really move around a lot. You don't function. That was what was happening with me. But it's like I still wanted to have my social life and still see everyone, but then it was hard most of the time. There were so many like things I could have went to, but because of the fact that I was depressed and all, it was like a setback for me. And 2017 was a real shitty year for me because I struggled with so much. I thought the end of 2010 was bad for me, and I had my struggles in 2011 and all. But 2017, at the age I was at, I never thought I would downfall and have a downward spiral again, an illicit spiral, as I call it. You don't expect to get mentally ill again. You just think, okay, it happened one peak in my life, that's it. But I had a relapse. I had a setback. And this time it was with compulsive thinking and depression. Now, as you know, a lot of people know and love the Goo Goo Dolls. I happen to love them to death. That was Iris, and it does help, that song, with the lyrics. Like, at the end of the day, you want people to know who you are. You want to know yourself better than anyone. And that's basically what it's saying, even when you're down and depressed, when everything's meant to be broken, because you do feel broken inside, but you have hope. With depression, I feel like there's always hope with it. Even when you don't want there to be hope, there is. Like literally, my mind was so consumed with my little thoughts I had in my head at that time. My body was consumed with just being glued on the couch, on the bed. I didn't eat at all. I lost a shitload of weight. I didn't eat. Moving around was a struggle. There were times like my brother literally had to pick me up to get one room to the next because I wasn't doing it on my own. It's hard, and I know a lot of people go through that. There's a lot of people that's clinically depressed. I mean, for example, we see Eeyore and Winnie the Pooh, and look how clinically depressed he looks and acts all the time. But he's funny about it. Like, he tries to show he's having a good time and trying to just have a sense of humor with it, even though he's struggling with depression himself. It's like other people on a daily. They may crack a few jokes here and there. They might try to have a good time and they look fine on the outside, but on the inside, you can tell a different story. With me, when I was depressed, I had no poker face at all. Like, it was obvious, you could tell something was off with me. I wasn't talkative those months. I didn't engage in doing a lot of fun things like I always did. I just wanted to be home and mope around. That was my life. And that's what happens when you are very, very depressed. And it was the most depressed time I ever was. All the other times I've been depressed, it might be about a week or so. I would be in and out of it. But in 2017, there were a lot of months of depression. And it would just be month after month. And I would always think, when will it end? Like, I felt like the world stopped turning. And I felt like the clock just stopped. And I was like dragged with the same day every day because nothing was changed. And that's how I felt. So people who are depressed out there, you're honestly not alone, because I honestly dealt with that. That's why I went to therapy. I went back on meds, went to the psychiatrist because I had to do what I had to do. And people who are struggling with depression, don't let it get severe. Go on antidepressants, do what you got to do, because depression's a serious thing. Don't let it consume you too much to the point you're suicidal, because suicidal thoughts do possess your mind, and it's like a demon inside telling you you want to do it, but you really don't physically. It's a scary thing, depression, and unfortunately, there are so many people out there who have it. You hear of even now 10-year-olds or 11-year-olds developing a sense of depression because they're either getting bullied or they have a tough life at home, or their parents are pressuring them with their grades, for instance. Like, all ages basically could be depressed. There's always different reasons why people get depressed. Well, sometimes there are reasons. Sometimes it's just in you and you can't explain it yourself. You just feel a sense of lost and feeling hopeless, like you're a lost cause, because that's how I felt in 2017. I felt like a severe, ultimate lost cause and a failure to society and to myself. And I felt like a disappointment to my family as well, because I had a setback, and I felt they were disappointed in me because of how far I came. I persevered through a lot, as they said, and here I am getting myself back to where I kind of originally came from, but just with different symptoms and circumstances with my bipolar. And I honestly felt like I failed them again, but I never failed them. They loved me no matter what, unconditionally. They just saw I was struggling again and felt heartbroken for me and felt hopeless themselves because they wanted to help me the best they could. Luckily now I'm not depressed. I mean, at the moment I'll say that I'm kind of struggling with some things, something I'm like feel pathetic for struggling over, but I'm still trying to get over it, get over him, get through it. It's not easy though. Last night I was just randomly getting choked up teary-eyed, but then I was like, Alyssa, stop it. So then today I woke up with a different positive outlook. I hung out with my friend today, did karaoke, watched Big Brother with her and Big Mouth, and just this day in general, I just kept myself busy like I've been this week, and it helps. So people who are depressed out there, I strongly advise you, when you feel like you're on that urge of feeling hopelessness again, feeling upset, do something. Do community service if it makes you happy. Watch your favorite movie if it makes you happy. Do things you're passionate about, whether it's writing like me, or whether it's, I don't know, just anything, whether you like to draw, whether you like to play video games. Do something that gets you hyped up and excited for the day. Do something that gets you hyped and feeling good about yourself, because you don't want to be in a bubble, stuck in a bubble where you're just laying down all the time like I was when I was severely depressed. with no quality of life that time being, because it's paralyzing to the soul, to the brain, to your body, and you don't need that. It's easier said than done. It really is, because every day is just a battle with your mind, with your body when you are depressed. And sometimes you feel like you're stuck in a rabbit hole and you can't get out of it. Like, you know how in Alice in Wonderland where there's a hole she goes down? You feel that way, but you're like stuck your whole body and you can't get yourself out of it. That's how you really feel when you're severely depressed. But you have to say to yourself, this too shall pass. That's why it breaks my heart when I hear of people dying for suicide, because if they maybe got more help, or maybe if they loved themselves more, they wouldn't have been self-loathing so much, and they wouldn't have been that much in a dark place to the point they did that. Sometimes it's just hard for people to snap out of that feeling of hating themselves, that feeling of wanting to end their life, you know? That's why depression is a serious thing that can't be taken lightly. That's why there's so many help and support people get nowadays, because they need it. I needed it and I got it. I'm not saying that every day you're going to feel happy and whole once you start working on yourself more, once you start doing more things you love again, because you're always going to have, if you have mental illness in you, if you had previous history of depression, believe me, depression's always going to be in you. It's always going to find its way back to you. But you have to be brave enough to kill that depression before it gets too serious. You have to find a way to understand that you should love yourself, and you should understand that things will get better. If it feels like the end of the world right now, it's really not the end of the world. And think to yourself, whatever you are depressed over, if there's a reason that there are worse things to be depressed over, some people have it worse than you. Some people are more mentally sick than you, or some people don't have what you have. Some people have physical health conditions, problems, and be blessed that you don't have them, for instance. Things like that make you put a perspective on things, because when I'm feeling down like that and suicidal in my mind, thought wise, I have to think to myself that there are people out there who would love to have my life, who would love to have the family support and love of friends like I do, who would love to have a home like I do that has protection and all that, because some people, like in poor countries, don't even have that. There are poor countries out there that don't even have healthy water for themselves. And you got to think of those people and see how they're living, because there are some out there, believe it or not, that even though they have so little, that they're grateful and happy with themselves in their lives. And if you have so much more than what others have in their life, you should be just as happy, or at least try to. No matter how sad you can be, it could always be worse, your sadness. So always be grateful for the people around you. Try to love yourself. And if you can, do things that you know can make you feel better about yourself. And don't let depression consume you. And if it is, get the right help you need for it before it gets too late and things get more serious for yourself and you get more suicidal in your head, and before you act on it, because you don't want to do anything you'll regret in the long run. Self-harm, suicidal thoughts, and depression is a real serious thing in today's world. We lose so many people over depression, and we don't need to lose any more. Mental health is also a serious thing, and it's important to get the help you need. I wanted to talk about depression because it was a big topic and part of my life in 2017, unfortunately. I dealt with a lot, and I got myself depressed and worked off over a guy who was an ex later in the long run, but at the time he was just a guy I was seeing. And now looking back, I feel like really stupid, but then at the same time, I think to myself, was I able to help it? Because maybe I couldn't. Maybe with my mental illness that I have, there are certain things I can handle and can't handle with life. And I've come to realize that, maybe I couldn't control dwelling on the situation. Maybe I couldn't control on having a relapse. If I could, I would have. At the end of the day, you can't control things. There's nothing you can, yeah. You can't control certain things. Once they happen, but take it as a learning experience. Like for me, I'm not going to get myself worked up or depressed over a situation with a guy again. I'll be like, okay, it is what it is, whatever. If I feel like he's not a healthy fit for me that I'm getting depressed over, I have to just be strong to cut him off. whatever you get yourself depressed and worked up over, whether it's a relationship or whether it's stressfulness at work that you're depressed over, whatever's getting you depressed, sometimes you need to leave the equation from it so you don't get more depressed and more worse from it. That's what I learned 2 years later at my age now. And unfortunately, I wish I can just turn back time of all the time I wasted in 2017 and just change things, but I can't. I'm only moving forward now, and I'm only making my life the best it could be and the best Alyssa I can be. And that's how everyone should be. So if any of you guys are depressed right now and feel hopeless, you can email me and I'll try to give you the best advice I can. I think I covered a lot of that in this video, but if you need more help or anything, let me be of support to you and let me be a friend. And I also thoroughly appreciate all the support I've gotten on these past 2 videos I made. Well, now the third one that I'm going to put up now. And I'm very thankful of the subscribers I got, the positive feedback I got, the views I got. It does mean a lot that I'm voicing out to the world about my mental illness and trying to help others to make a difference in their lives too. So I hope everyone's had a great Friday and is going to have a great weekend. And I'll be making another video next week, either next Thursday or Friday. All right, guys. Bye.